Father misses son's birthdays for years. Days later, the son receives an unexpected gift. Ethan Miller pressed his face against the living room window glass, as he did every year on March 15th. His blue eyes sparkled with hope as he watched every car passing by the quiet street in the Brookline neighborhood of Boston. With every engine he heard, his heart raced, thinking that finally, Daddy would be arriving for his 8th birthday. 3 days after yet another birthday that went uncelebrated, a mysterious box arrived addressed specifically to him. Inside was a photo album he had never seen before, and an old golden key with a small handwritten note containing an address. "Mom, look what came for me," shouted Ethan, running to the kitchen where Olivia was preparing breakfast. When she turned and saw the contents of the box in her son's hands, her face lost all color. The cups she was holding slipped from her hands, shattering on the ceramic floor. "Where did this come from, Ethan?" she asked, her voice trembling, trying to take the album from the boy. "It came in the mail. It was at the door when I woke up," he replied, instinctively stepping back from his mother. "Give that to me right now." But Ethan had already opened the album, and his eyebrows rose in surprise. On the first page was a photo of his father, Michael, in front of Massachusetts Medical Center, holding a sign that read, "Happy birthday, Ethan, 3 years old." On the next page, another photo of him at Boston Common with another sign, "Happy birthday, Ethan, 4 years old." "Mom, why is Daddy holding these signs?" asked Ethan, flipping quickly through the pages. Olivia tried again to grab the album, but Ethan ran to his room and locked the door. Sitting on his bed, he examined each photo carefully. There were 5 years' worth of photos of his father in different locations around Boston, always on March 15th, always holding birthday signs. "Ethan, open this door right now," Olivia shouted from the hallway. "I'll only open it if you explain these photos to me." Silence on the other side of the door lasted for long minutes. When Olivia finally spoke, her voice was heavy with exhaustion. "Your father, he can't come to your birthdays because his job is very important." "Then why was he in these places taking these photos?" Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. Olivia didn't answer. Ethan looked again at the golden key and the note with the address, 250 Washington Street, downtown. He knew the area because he had been there a few times with his mother when they went downtown. That afternoon, while Olivia dozed on the couch watching her afternoon soap opera, Ethan took his bike and rode to the address. The place was an old, small commercial building with several storage units on the ground floor. Number 250 matched a faded green door. Ethan tried the key in the lock and it opened perfectly. When he turned on the light, his eyes widened. The small storage unit was filled with wrapped gifts, each with a hanging tag. He approached the nearest pile and read the tags. Ethan, 3 years. Ethan, 4 years. Ethan, 5 years. There were gifts for every one of his birthdays. "You must be Ethan," said a voice behind him. The boy turned, startled, and saw an elderly man with gray hair and thick glasses. "Don't be afraid, son. My name is Robert. I take care of this place. Your father told me a lot about you." "You know my dad?" "Yes, I do. Michael comes here every month to check on things. He's been paying rent for this storage unit for 5 years. Ethan picked up the gift labeled 3 years and carefully opened it. Inside was a toy fire truck and a handwritten letter. With trembling hands, he read, "My dear Ethan, today you turn 3 and I wish so much I could be there with you. I know you love fire trucks. Every time we pass by the fire station downtown, you point and smile. Daddy loves you very much, even if I can't be there. One day you'll understand. Happy birthday, my son. With love, Daddy." "Why can't my dad come to my birthdays?" Ethan asked, his eyes welling up. Robert sighed and sat on an old chair in the corner of the storage room. "That's something you need to talk to your mother about, son. All I know is your father is a good man who suffers deeply for not being able to be with you." Just then, hurried footsteps echoed from outside, and Olivia appeared at the door, breathless and furious. "Ethan, how dare you leave the house without permission?" "Mom, look how many gifts Dad left for me," he said, holding up the fire truck. "We're leaving right now." She grabbed her son's arm tightly. "Mrs. Olivia," Robert interrupted. "The boy has a right to know the truth." "Stay out of this, Robert. Come on, Ethan." On the way back, Ethan pedaled his bike beside his mother, who walked in silence. When they got home, he couldn't hold back any longer. "Mom, I want to see my dad." "That's not possible, Ethan." "Why?" Olivia stopped in the middle of the living room and took a deep breath. Her eyes were red and swollen. Because your father has another family now. He doesn't have time for us. But the pictures show he remembers my birthdays. He only does that to feel less guilty," she replied bitterly. "I don't believe that. You're lying." "Ethan, you don't understand. Adults sometimes make hard choices." "Then why won't you let me choose if I want to see my dad or not?" Olivia fell silent. Ethan ran to his room again and locked the door. He grabbed the album he'd hidden under his mattress and examined each photo once more. In every one, his father looked sad, even when smiling for the camera. The next morning at breakfast, Ethan made a proposal to his mother. "Mom, I'll run away if you don't let me see my dad." "Ethan, don't be dramatic." "I'm not being dramatic. I'll leave and live on the street if you don't set up a meeting with him." Olivia looked at her son and saw a determination in his eyes she'd never seen before. After a long argument, she agreed to arrange a supervised meeting at Boston Common. "But just once, Ethan, and I'll be there the whole time." 2 days later, Ethan sat on a park bench beside his mother, waiting. When he saw a dark-haired, bearded man walking toward them, his heart raced. He looked just as Ethan remembered, but thinner and more tired. "Daddy!" Ethan shouted, jumping up. Michael knelt and opened his arms. When his son threw himself into them, he couldn't hold back his tears. "My boy, how you've grown," Michael said, holding Ethan tightly. "Why don't you ever come to my birthdays?" Michael glanced at Olivia, who stood with her arms crossed, watching with a stern expression. "It's complicated, son, but no, I think of you every day. I saw the gifts in the storage room, and the pictures." "You went there?" Michael looked surprised. "I did. And I want to know why you can't give me the gifts yourself." Michael took a deep breath and chose his words carefully. "Sometimes adults make agreements to avoid hurting the people they love. I respect your mother's decision because I don't want you caught in the middle of fights. But I want you at my birthdays. I know, son. I want that too." Just then, a woman in a wheelchair approached the bench where they sat. She was younger than Michael, with brown hair and a gentle smile. "Michael, sorry I'm late. The parking lot was packed," she said. Ethan looked confused, glancing from the woman to his father. "This is my sister Emily," Michael explained. "Emily, this is my son Ethan." Olivia abruptly stood up from the bench. "So it was true. You really do have other people in your life." "Olivia, it's not what you think." "Of course it is. You chose to take care of her instead of coming to see your own son." Emily interrupted the argument. "Olivia, can I talk to you? I have nothing to say to you. Please, it's important you know the truth." Ethan watched the adults arguing, not fully understanding what was happening. Michael sat beside him on the bench. "Son, your Aunt Emily has been sick for many years. When your grandparents passed away, I had to take care of her. But why does that stop you from coming to see me?" "Because," Michael hesitated, "because your mother thought I was giving more attention to Emily than to you." Olivia heard and exploded. "It wasn't just attention, Michael. You spent every weekend with her. Because she needed to go to the hospital for treatment. And what about us? Your son needed you too." Emily walked over to Ethan and introduced herself formally. "Hi, Ethan. I'm your Aunt Emily. I'm so sorry for all this confusion." "Are you sick?" the boy asked innocently. "Yes. I have an illness that makes me very weak sometimes. Your dad helps me go to the doctor and do things I can't do on my own." "And that's why Mom won't let him come see me?" Emily looked at Olivia with sadness. "Your mother thought your dad loved me more than you, but that's not true. He talks about you all the time." "Really?" Ethan looked at his father. "Yes, son. You're the most important thing in my life." Olivia, who had stepped away a few feet, was clearly emotional. Emily approached her. "Olivia, can I talk to you in private?" They walked away and spoke for several minutes. Ethan took the chance to be alone with his father. "Dad, do you work 2 jobs?" "Yes, son. I need to earn money to pay child support for you and your mom, and also to help your Aunt Emily." "Are you always tired?" "Sometimes, yes. But when I think of you, the energy comes back." "Why didn't you fight with Mom to see me?" Michael sighed heavily. "Because fighting doesn't solve anything, son. And I didn't want you to be sad seeing your parents argue." "But I'm sadder without you." Those words touched Michael's heart deeply. He hugged his son again. "You're right, Ethan, I made a mistake." When Olivia and Emily returned from their private talk, Ethan noticed his mother's eyes were red. "Mom, are you okay?" "Yes, son." Emily then explained to Ethan what her and Michael's routine was like. "Your dad takes me to the hospital 3 times a week, on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. The other days he works 2 jobs to pay all the bills." "And does he really think about me?" "All the time. He carries a photo of you in his wallet and shows it to everyone. Just last week he showed your picture to the nurse at the hospital and talked for half an hour about how smart you are." Ethan smiled for the first time since the conversation began. "Dad, can I suggest something?" "Of course, son. How about we all have dinner together tonight? That way you can talk properly." The 3 adults exchanged glances. Olivia hesitated, but Emily encouraged it. "I think that's a great idea. It's been too long since we had this talk." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot, as we're just starting out. Now continuing. Michael offered his house for dinner since it was more spacious and adapted for Emily's wheelchair. On the way there, Ethan asked his aunt many questions, discovering she had been a teacher before getting sick and that she loved reading stories. Michael's house was simple but very organized. Ethan was fascinated to see his childhood bedroom preserved exactly as it was when he was 3. "You kept my room?" he asked in amazement. "I did. Always hoping one day you could sleep here." During dinner, the conversation was tense at first. Olivia still showed resistance but gradually began to relax. Emily shared funny stories from her and Michael's childhood, and Ethan laughed loudly at his father's childhood mischief. "Did you know your father once painted the neighbor's cat blue?" Emily said. "No way," Ethan laughed. "It's true," Michael admitted sheepishly. "I was 6 and thought the cat would look prettier in blue." "What happened?" "The neighbor, Mrs. Wilson, was furious. She made my father bathe the cat for a whole week to get the paint off." Even Olivia smiled at the story. For a moment, the tension at the table eased. "Aunt Emily, can I ask you something?" "Of course, Ethan. How did you get sick?" Emily looked at Michael, who nodded, encouraging her to share. "I have an illness that makes my body not work right. Sometimes I get very weak and need to stay at the hospital. Other times I feel fine and can do everything normally." "And Dad always took care of you?" "Not always. When I first got sick, your grandparents were still alive and helped me. But after they passed, your father took on that responsibility." "Even after I was born?" "Especially after you were born. Your father said he wanted to set an example of responsibility for you." Olivia stayed quiet during this part of the conversation, clearly processing information she hadn't known. After dinner, Ethan asked to see more photos. Michael brought out several albums, including pictures of Ethan's childhood that Olivia didn't know existed. "When did you take these?" she asked, looking at photos of Ethan sleeping in his crib. "I came here secretly sometimes when you were at work. The neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, let me in to see Ethan." "Mrs. Thompson knew you came here?" "Yes, she always said a child needs his father." Olivia was moved to learn Michael had never truly stayed completely away. "Why didn't you ever tell me?" "Because you were so hurt by me. I respected your space to process your feelings. But I had the right to know. You did. And I was wrong not to insist more." At that moment, Ethan showed a drawing he had made that afternoon. "I drew our family together. The picture showed 4 people holding hands. Him, Olivia, Michael, and Emily. Everyone was smiling. This is how I want it to be." Ethan said simply. Emily was moved to tears. Ethan, you have a very special heart. I just want everyone to like each other again. Michael looked at Olivia. Olivia, can we talk in private? They stepped out onto the porch while Ethan stayed in the living room, showing Emily more drawings he had brought in his backpack. Olivia, I need to apologize, Michael began. For what? For not fighting harder to stay in Ethan's life. I should have insisted, even if you were angry with me. Michael, I need to apologize too. I was so jealous of Emily that I couldn't see you were just being a good brother. You don't have to apologize for feeling abandoned. I really was splitting my attention between you and Emily, and that must have been hard for you. But I never gave you a real chance to explain. I assumed things that weren't true. And I accepted it because I thought it would be less painful for everyone. We both made mistakes, Michael. Inside the house, Ethan was making Emily laugh with his school stories. Aunt Emily, can you teach me to read better? Of course I can. I was a teacher, remember? And can you teach me about the illness you have? That way I can help Daddy take care of you. Emily was deeply moved by the boy's generosity. You really want to help? Yes, I do. We're family, right? Yes, Ethan. We're family. When Michael and Olivia returned from the porch, they found Ethan and Emily flipping through a children's storybook. Aunt Emily was telling me the story of the 3 little pigs, but in her version the pigs build a house together so the wolf can live there too. And why did they do that? Olivia asked, sitting beside them. Because they found out the wolf was hungry and lonely, so instead of being afraid of him, they became friends, Ethan explained. Michael smiled. Sounds like a story with a good lesson. Yeah, Aunt Emily said sometimes people seem mean, but really they're just hurting. That observation made the adults reflect on their own situation. As the night went on, Ethan began to get sleepy. Emily suggested he sleep in his old room, and he eagerly agreed. Can I stay here tonight, Dad? Of course you can, son. Olivia hesitated but agreed. I'll come get you tomorrow morning. Or, Ethan suggested hopefully, you could all have breakfast together here. The 3 adults exchanged glances. Emily was the first to speak. I think that's a great idea. We can talk more about how to organize our routine better. The next morning at breakfast, Ethan made a proposal. What if you all made an agreement? What kind of agreement? Michael asked. Dad can come to my birthdays, but he can still take care of Aunt Emily. And Mom can come here sometimes to help too. Ethan, that's very generous of you, Olivia said, but adults have complicated things. What things? Emily answered. Sometimes, Ethan, when people get hurt, it's hard to trust each other again. But you can try, can't you? Michael looked at Olivia. Ethan's right. We can try. I want to try too, Olivia agreed. But it'll take time. How much time? I don't know, sweetheart. Maybe a few months. That's okay. I can wait, as long as Dad comes to my next birthday. I'll be there, Michael promised solemnly. And the other birthdays too? All the other birthdays too? In the following days, Michael started picking Ethan up from school twice a week. Olivia still showed some tension, but she was visibly making an effort to overcome her negative feelings. During one of these pickups, Ethan asked to go to the storage unit with his father again. Dad, can I open more presents? Of course, son. They're all yours. When they arrived, Robert was organizing some boxes. Hello, Michael. Brought the boy to see the rest of the presents? Yes, Robert. Ethan, you can open any you want. Ethan opened the present from when he was 4 and found a set of Legos. The note read, My dear Ethan, today you turned 4. I know you love building things. I hope one day we can build something together. Love, Dad. Dad, can we build something together now? Of course we can. They spent the whole afternoon in the storage unit, building a castle with the Lego pieces. Robert watched them with a smile. It's good to see you two together, the older man remarked. Robert, do you have family? Ethan asked. I do, son. I have 2 grandsons your age. And do they live far away? They do. They're in New York with my daughter. Don't you get sad? I do, but I know they're well taken care of, and that gives me peace. Is that how Dad felt about me? Mr. Robert looked at Michael. That's exactly how your father felt. When they got home, Ethan told Olivia about the afternoon at the storage unit. Mum, Dad saved gifts for all my birthdays, even the ones I don't remember. Really? Yes, and there are letters too. He wrote to me every year. Can you show me one? Ethan brought out the letter from when he was 4 and read it aloud to his mother. When he finished, Olivia's eyes were glistening. He really never forgot you, she murmured. I told you he loved me. That night, Olivia called Michael. Michael, can we talk? Of course. Did something happen with Ethan? No, it's about us. About everything that happened. What do you want to know? I want to understand Carmen's situation better and how you felt all these years. They talked on the phone for over 2 hours. Michael explained in detail about Carmen's illness, the financial struggles, and how torn he felt between his responsibilities. Olivia, I never stopped loving you, but I couldn't abandon Carmen either. I understand that now, but back then I felt replaced. You were never replaced. You were different priorities in my life, but equally important. Michael, can I ask a hard question? Go ahead. Do you still have feelings for me? Michael was silent for a long moment. Olivia, I'll always care for you. You're the mother of my son, but I don't know if we can rebuild what we had. I'm not asking to get back together. I just want to know if we can be real friends. I'd like that very much. Then let's try for Ethan. For Ethan? A week later, Olivia suggested they visit Carmen together. Ethan, how about we visit your Aunt Carmen today? Really, Mom? You want to go? Yes, I do. I think I need to get to know her better. When they arrived at Michael's house, Carmen was in the kitchen, baking a cake. Hi, Carmen, Olivia greeted shyly. Hi, Olivia. I'm so glad you came. I brought some things I thought you might like, Olivia said, handing her a bag. Inside were herbal teas and a few books. Oh, thank you. How did you know I like tea? Ethan told me you get tired sometimes. These teas help with energy. Carmen was touched by the gesture. Olivia, you're so kind. I want to apologize for thinking poorly of you all these years. You don't need to apologize. I completely understand how you felt. Ethan watched the two women talk in fascination. Are you going to be friends? We'll try, Olivia replied. I'd really like that, Carmen agreed. That day, Olivia helped Carmen with some chores and discovered they had a lot in common. Both loved reading, cooking, and plants. Carmen, have you ever thought about planting a garden? I've always wanted to, but it's hard to manage alone. What if we did it together? I could come by a few times a week to help. You'd do that? Yes, and Ethan could learn about plants too. When Michael came home from work that afternoon, he found Olivia, Carmen, and Ethan enthusiastically planning the garden. What's going on here? He asked, surprised. Dad, Mom, and Aunt Carmen are going to make a garden, Ethan announced excitedly. And I'm going to help plant tomatoes and lettuce. Michael was moved to see the two most important women in his life getting along. This is wonderful, he said sincerely. As the weeks passed, a new routine took shape. Olivia visited Carmen twice a week, helping with the garden and other tasks. Michael picked Ethan up from school and spent afternoons with him. On weekends, everyone would gather to have lunch together. One evening, Ethan asked a question that surprised them all. Mom, why did you and Dad really separate? Olivia and Michael exchanged glances. They had never explained the details to Ethan. It's a complicated story, son, Michael began. But I want to understand. Did you fight because of Aunt Emily? Not exactly, Olivia replied. We fought because we couldn't talk properly about our feelings. What do you mean? Emily, who was present during the conversation, suggested, Ethan, how about we tell you the whole story? Go ahead, Michael started. When your Aunt Emily got sick, I started spending a lot of time taking care of her. Your mum thought I was paying less attention to you. And were you? Ethan asked directly. Maybe I was, Michael admitted. I was so worried about Emily that I didn't realize you and your mum needed me too, Olivia continued. And instead of talking to your dad about how I felt, I started holding on to resentment. I got jealous of the attention he gave Emily. But Aunt Emily is sick. It's normal to take care of someone who's sick. You're right, Ethan, Olivia agreed, but sometimes adults don't think as clearly as children. And why didn't you talk about it? Michael sighed. Because we were too proud to admit we were scared. Scared of what? I was afraid to admit I couldn't take care of everyone properly, Michael explained. And I was afraid to admit I was jealous, Olivia added. So you separated because of pride? Basically, yes. Ethan grew thoughtful for a moment. But now you're not proud anymore, Emily laughed. Now we've learned it's better to talk about our feelings, even when it's hard. That's good. So you won't fight anymore. No, son, we won't fight anymore, Michael promised. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us, who are just starting out. Now, continuing. On Ethan's 9th birthday, for the first time in 5 years, Michael was there. Not just him, but Olivia and Emily were also there, all preparing the party together. Ethan, close your eyes, Michael said when it was time for presents. Why? It's a surprise. When Ethan opened his eyes, he saw a brand new bike, but it wasn't just any bike. It was a bike adapted with a special seat. Is this for me to ride with Aunt Emily? He asked excitedly. Yes, Emily replied, her eyes shining. Now I can take walks with you in the park. This is the most brilliant idea ever. That day, Ethan received all the presents from previous years he hadn't opened yet. Each one came with a heartfelt letter from his dad. But the greatest gift wasn't wrapped in colorful paper. What was the best gift, Ethan? Olivia asked. Having all of you here with me, he answered without hesitation. Really? Not even the new bike? The bike is cool, but having the family together is better. Michael knelt beside his son. Ethan, I want to make you a promise. What? I promise I'll never miss your birthdays again, no matter what happens. What if Aunt Emily is really sick? Then we'll adjust the party so she can join too. Family doesn't abandon family. What if you're working? Then I'll take time off. You're more important than any job. What if... Ethan, Olivia interrupted gently. Your dad won't miss it anymore, we all promise that. Emily stepped closer. Ethan, I want to make you a promise too. What, Aunt Emily? I promise I'll take better care of myself so I can be part of your life for many years. And I promise to help you take care of yourself. And I promise, said Olivia, that I'll never keep your father from being with you again, even if I'm upset with him for some reason. Do you all really promise? We promise, the 3 adults said in unison. That night, after Ethan fell asleep, the 3 adults sat on the porch to talk. Michael, I need to thank you for something, Olivia said. What for? For respecting my decision all these years, even when I was wrong. Olivia, you weren't wrong to feel hurt. You were just protecting Ethan the way you thought was best. But I kept him from his father for 5 years. And I kept him from me by accepting your decision without fighting harder, Michael countered. Emily intervened. You both made mistakes, but what matters is that you fixed them. Ethan is a happy child, and that's what counts. Emily's right, Olivia agreed. Now, how do we organize our routine from here on out? They spent the whole night planning a new family dynamic. Michael would continue caring for Emily, but would also have specific days with Ethan. Olivia would remain the primary guardian, but Michael would actively participate in important decisions. Emily would become a constant presence in Ethan's life, like the loving aunt she always should have been. 3 months later, during an afternoon in the garden Olivia and Emily had planted, Ethan made an observation that deeply moved the adults. You know what? I think plants are like families. How so? Emily asked. Sometimes they get sick or sad, but if you take good care of them, they grow back and become beautiful again. That's a very wise observation, Olivia said. And sometimes, Ethan continued, you think a plant is done for, but then new sprouts appear. Michael, who had just arrived from work and was listening, stepped closer. Are you talking about our family? I am. You all thought our family was over, but it just needed some care. And now it's growing again. It is. And it's even bigger now, because Aunt Emily's here too." Emily was moved to tears. "Ethan, you have a very special heart. You've taught us that love can heal any hurt. And you've taught us that forgiving makes you feel better," Olivia added. "And you've taught us that family is about being there, not about being perfect," Michael finished. That afternoon, as they harvested the first tomatoes from the garden, Ethan realized his life had completely changed. Not just because his father was back, but because the whole family had learned to communicate better. A few months later, Ethan suggested something that surprised everyone. "What if we donated the leftover gifts in the storage room?" "Are you sure?" Michael asked. "Those gifts are yours." "I'm sure. There are lots of kids who've never gotten a birthday present, and I already have the best gift in the world." "What's that?" "My family." Michael was proud of his son's generosity. "If that's what you want, we'll donate them. But there's one condition," Ethan said. "What?" "That we deliver them in person. I want to see the kids' faces when they get the gifts." And so, the following weekend, the whole family went to a local orphanage to deliver the gifts Michael had saved over the years. Ethan insisted on writing new letters to go with each one, explaining they were given with lots of love. "Why did you choose this orphanage?" one of the caretakers asked. "Because I know what it's like to go without a birthday present," Ethan replied simply. "And no one should feel forgotten on their special day." The children at the orphanage were delighted, not just with the gifts, but with Ethan's story. Emily, who had been a teacher, offered to visit regularly and tell them stories. "Aunt Emily, can you teach them to read too?" "Of course, Ethan. What a wonderful idea." And so what began as a family tragedy turned into a source of joy for many other children as well. At the end of that year, during Christmas, Ethan reflected on everything that had happened. "Dad, can I tell you something?" "Of course, son. I think everything that happened was good." "How so?" "If you had never missed my birthdays, I would have never learned the value of having you there. And if Mom had never gotten angry, you two would have never learned to talk things out. And if I had never gone to the storage room, we would have never met the kids at the orphanage." Michael was amazed by his son's maturity. "Ethan, are you saying that sometimes bad things can lead to good things?" "Exactly. It's like when you scrape your knee but end up with a cool scar to show your friends." Olivia, who had been listening, stepped closer. "Your son is very wise, Michael." "He takes after his mother," Michael replied with a smile. "And his father too," Olivia retorted. "And Aunt Emily," Ethan added. "She's the one who taught me that life's challenges can make us better people." Emily, who had arrived for Christmas dinner, overheard the comment. "Ethan, you've taught me far more than I've taught you." "What did I teach you?" "You taught me that family isn't just who you're born with. Family is who chooses to stay with you." That Christmas night, as everyone gathered in the living room decorated with twinkling lights and a tree full of handmade ornaments by Ethan, Michael raised a toast. "I'd like to toast to our crazy, imperfect, and wonderful family." "And to Ethan," Olivia added, "who taught us that love always finds a way." "And to second chances," Emily said, "which are sometimes even better than the first." "And to unexpected gifts," Ethan finished, "that don't come in pretty boxes, but change our lives forever." As they clinked their glasses, each knew they had found something far more valuable than any material gift. They had found forgiveness, understanding, and a family love stronger than ever before. 2 years later, on Ethan's 11th birthday, he looked back and realized how much his life had changed, not just because his father was present, but because the whole family had learned to cherish every moment together. "Dad, do you remember that day in the park when we met for the first time in years?" "I do, son." "Were you nervous?" "Very nervous. I was afraid you'd be mad at me. And I was nervous too. I was afraid you wouldn't like me anymore. How could I not like you? You're my son." "Sometimes kids think silly things, and sometimes adults do too," Michael admitted. Ethan smiled. "But in the end, it all worked out, right?" "It did, son. It all worked out perfectly." In that moment, looking at his gathered family, Ethan realized he had learned the most important lesson of all, that true love always finds its way back home, even when it seems impossible. And every time he saw a sad child or a family in conflict, Ethan remembered that there's always hope. Because if his family, which had seemed completely broken, could come together and grow even stronger, any family could do the same. The storage room where his father had kept the gifts was turned into a small community center, where Emily tutored underprivileged children. Michael helped with repairs, Olivia managed a little library they set up, and Ethan was the official helper in everything. "You know something, Ethan," Emily said one day as they organized books in the library. "What, Aunt Emily?" "You saved our family." "I didn't do anything special." "Yes, you did. You showed us it was worth fighting for each other. Any kid would have done the same. No, Ethan, not every child would have the courage to stand up to adults like you did, and not every child would be generous enough to give away their gifts to other kids." Ethan thought about it. "Aunt Emily, can I tell you a secret?" "Of course. I didn't give the gifts away just to be nice." "No?" "No. I did it because I realized having all of you with me was so much better than any toy." Emily hugged her nephew tenderly. "That's the greatest sign of maturity there is, Ethan. Knowing what truly matters in life. And what matters most is family's love." "Exactly. Family's love is the gift that never breaks, never fades, and never loses its value." Ethan smiled, knowing he had found the most precious treasure in the world, a family that, despite all the hardships, never gave up on each other. And when he grew up and had his own children, he would know exactly how to be the present father he had always dreamed of having, because sometimes the best parents are the ones who learn from their own mistakes and become even better because of them. In his bedroom drawer, Ethan kept all the letters his father had written over the years, and whenever he felt sad or missed him, he would read them again, reminding himself that he had never been alone, even when he thought he was. Because true love, Ethan discovered, doesn't need to be physically present to exist. It's always there, waiting for the right moment to show itself again, and the right moment had finally come. The end. What did you think of this touching story? Could you feel Ethan's emotions as he reunited with his family? Let us know in the comments which part moved you the most and if you've ever experienced something similar. Your opinion means a lot to us. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss more heartwarming stories.